Good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Schreiber, and I want to welcome you to the first edition of Friday at 4. Today, I have with me Amanda Van Der Heijden. Say hi, Amanda.
Hello, everyone.
And what we've decided to do was put together a video series that we're going to post every Friday at 4 o'clock on interesting topics of the week, topics we're going to derive from our background and experiences, as well as from our viewers' suggestions. These topics will be anywhere from work-related topics to career-related topics to topics on business. Pretty much no question regarding business and your career is off the table. Amanda, is there anything you'd like to say?
Each week, we're going to bring you a fresh topic weekly to maybe provide some insight, tips and tricks. That's our goal here, is to answer any questions you may have, maybe raise questions to get you thinking, to help you wrap up your week and plan for the future.
That's great. So let me just tell everybody about a little bit about my background, then I'll let Amanda talk about her background. I have been in the recruiting, headhunting, executive search field, both internal and external, for over 25 years. I have worked internal in big four companies, IT companies, in New York, Philadelphia, actually from a national standpoint, and even have worked from a global level as well. So I pretty much have met the whole gambit from entry level all the way up to C-level executives. And I've learned a lot. And one of the things that I've learned is successful people always challenge themselves to do better. And one of the ways they do that is by asking themselves at the end of the day or at the end of the week or at the end of the project, did I succeed with the task that I sent out? So that's what I'm going to try to bring to the table to facilitate conversations among our hopefully online society that will help make all of us more successful. Amanda, why don't you tell us about your background?
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Van Der Heijden. For the last 2 decades, I have been in people management, vendor management, and talent management. My specialty is large-scale global learning and development initiatives, where I help with strategy, implementation, and evaluation. But my passion is people. I love helping people excel and grow and develop by any means necessary. And so that's really what I bring to the table, is giving you that growth mindset and helping give you the tools and tips and tricks that you need to be successful in your career and in your life. So there you have it. Jim finds you the best opportunities and helps the organizations find the best people. And for me, I help you grow your people, develop your people, and retain your people. So the name that we chose for this was Friday at 4. Jim, what does Friday at 4 mean to you?
Well, Friday at 4 typically, if you've worked in offices, and most of us have done that, Friday at 4 is the time you're putting your desk away. You may be contemplating running for the train or meeting your buddies after work, and thinking about the weekend. But it's also a time that we reflect on, did we have a good week? Did we accomplish this week the goals that we set out to do? And I just thought this was the perfect name because as we're sitting at our desk and we're saying it's almost time to end the week, most of us challenge ourselves to see if we've had a good week. So Friday at 4 is the perfect time that, maybe we can all plan a date every Friday at 4 to meet, to listen to interesting topics, to see how we can challenge one another to become better, and maybe to ask some questions that I'm sure we all have in regards to, did I have a successful week? That's my goal and my thought process for this video series.
Absolutely, Jim. So it's also very symbolic, right? Friday at 4, you still have a little time left. You're mostly reflective, but you still have time left to get something done. Are you satisfied with where you are in your life, in your position, in your role? If not, evaluate it, create a plan, and figure out what you're going to do in the future to make yourself a success.
Perfect. So this brings us to our first topic today. So a loyal listener of mine wrote in. Her name is Veronica Perez. She wrote in and asked, how does she know at the end of the week whether she's had a win this week? How does she define that? And it got me to think that this is actually the one question that I think all successful people ask at the end of a project, a week, workday, whenever. For this series, we're going to stick to the end of the week. Did I have a good week? Did I have a win? And in order to have a win, you have to be able to define what a win is. So when we're defining what a win is, we have to go back to the beginning of the week. We have to go back to Monday. What were the goals that we laid out for the week? Was it how many sales calls we were going to have? Was it how many new clients we were going to bring in? Was it how many new resumes or new people we were going to add to the database? Maybe it's a bigger picture. Maybe you're in a management situation and it had to do with, did we meet our metrics? Did we drive revenue to a certain point? So in order to get to that end of the week where you have defined what that win is, and you can look and say, yes, I had a really good week. This was my win. You need to go back to the beginning of the week and really set the parameters for that. I hope that makes sense, Amanda.
Absolutely. So metrics are key here, right? You need to be able to set your daily, weekly. I like to work in reverse. When I'm strategy mapping, I like to figure out what are my big goals for the year or for the quarter, and then break it down into smaller chunks to figure out what do you have to do weekly and daily to get there.
Correct. And so when we define what win is, it really does, the determination is where we are in the ladder of that win. And I'll use an analogy of a baseball team. You know, the ultimate goal of any organization is to get to the playoffs and get a chance to win the World Series. That is the ultimate goal. But if you break it down into smaller units, you will see that on a game by game basis, yes, the manager's ultimate goal is to win. The pitcher who's pitching that day, his ultimate goal is to win. But the other players, while their ultimate goal is to win the game, they have other metrics that they're being based on. If you're a pinch hitter, your ultimate goal is what? To get a pinch hit. If you're a second baseman, it's to not make errors. It's to turn the plays you need to turn, and also to be productive at the plate. If you're a relief pitcher, you may not even work on that given day, but your goal is to stay prepared in case you're called upon. So what we see is that each of us, being defined by our position within the organization, will have a different aspect to what a win is. And in order to understand that, you have to define that at the beginning of the week. So one of the things I'm a true believer in, and maybe you can touch on this, Amanda, as well, is setting those goals Monday morning. This is what I'd like to accomplish by Friday. And then you have something definitive to go back to.
Absolutely, Jim. And that's a great point, right? You have to know what cap you're wearing when you're setting those goals. Are you the individual contributor? Are you the boss? Are you the organization? So you might have goals for yourself as the individual, but you also might have of course, your team's goals and of course your organization's goals as well.
Absolutely. And so these are the type of topics that we'd like to bring to the table. What we'd like to do, both Amanda and myself, is hear from you. How do you define a win? How do you define a win for your team or your organization? What parameters do you put in place at the beginning of the week to make sure, or to help make sure, that your team or you as an individual are successful? We'd love to hear from you, right, Amanda? That is really the goal of this, is to bring in a community where we're all talking, we're all helping each other with that ultimate goal, which is to take our career to the next level.
Absolutely. So what if the people listening, what if you did not have a good week? Or what if you're unsure if you had a good week? What do you do about it? What do they do, Jim?
Well, I think that's the sticking point, right? Because if you get to Friday at 4 and you're really not sure if you've had a good week, then something's got to change. You have to redirect your efforts before Monday, right? So one of the things I'm a big proponent of is writing down small goals for each day. Every morning, writing down what I'd like to accomplish. Look, we're human and we all understand that certain things get called in, right? More phone calls, more meetings, there's emergencies, but you can't really define where you need to be and be successful at getting there unless you've actually laid out a roadmap for that. So every Monday, one of the tricks that I use is to lay out my diary for the week. These are the goals that I expect to meet by Friday at 4 o'clock. Then at Friday at 4 o'clock, I can actually see if I've met those goals. But something more important, Manda, is I actually look on Tuesday and on Wednesday and on Thursday. Where am I in the roadmap to the finish line of meeting my goals? So this way, if I get to Wednesday and I realize that out of the 10 things I've laid out, I've only touched on 2, chances are I'm not going to reach my goal on Friday. I've always believed in setting big goals, but also smaller goals as well. Does that make sense, Amanda?
That's such a great point, Jim. So Jim's talking about breaking it out into more manageable chunks and creating milestones throughout. As a project manager, he's talking my language. I love that. I love setting, you take a goal and you break it down into smaller parts and create road points, checkpoints, if you will, along the way to ensure that you're going to actually reach them. And if you're not, that's okay, because you'll be tracking it, so you'll know you're not going to make it, and you can create a better strategy in order to achieve that in the future.
Yeah, that Amanda, that's the whole point. The whole point here, and something that I'm a huge believer in, is being positive. We want to be positive. There is, if you're working or you're involved in a negative situation, the chance of you succeeding are very slim. The goals are not set to get to Friday so you can beat yourself up and say, boy, I had a terrible week. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. The goals are set to get to Friday so you can see where you are within your metric of meeting those goals that you set for yourself. And the reason that's important is because once we see that we can do it, small goals lead to bigger goals, which lead to larger goals. From a positive side, we start to set bigger challenges for ourselves every week. And that really is the key to being successful, to get out of our comfort zone, to try something we haven't tried before, and to realize that we can get there. And if you're managing a team, you set bigger goals for your team. If you're managing an organization, maybe you set higher metrics and higher revenue aspirations. But if you're the individual, each week now you can set let me see if I can do this week. And it's not for a negative reason, it's for a positive reason, because we all work better when we're under a positive umbrella, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So it's about a growth mindset, right? It's not about whether or not you're bad. Metrics are not bad. They're there to help you and support you to figure out how can you be better. If you, any athlete, when they study the tapes, right? They don't study the tapes because they want to watch the same game over and over again. They're watching the tapes to see, what can I improve on? How can I be better? And that's what the mindset you want to approach it with, is a growth mindset. How can I improve? Not, oh, I did horrible, or, oh, I did great. I checked off all 3 boxes, so I don't need to do anything next week. It's, how do I continue to improve and progress within my life and within my career?
That's a great analogy, because anybody who's played sports, or even if you watch sports, if you watch football, is a good analogy of this, because football, as soon as the game's over, a coach, whether they win or lose, will say, the game is over. We have to look to our next opponent. They go in, they watch films, and they don't do that to critique in a negative way. They do that to improve their performance for the following week. You can't go back and change what happened in the past, but you can use those parameters and those learning aspects to help you move forward in the future. And really, that's what this is about: moving forward in the future and setting a day and setting a time where we evaluate ourselves, which is something that I've always done in my career, which basically was Friday at 4 o'clock, which brings us full circle. Amanda, how would you like to close this video?
Absolutely. So let's wrap up and let's recap a couple of really important key points that we brought up today. So one of the things is, Are you setting goals for yourself? Are you evaluating your results? Are you tracking your metrics? And do you have a growth mindset about it? Are you looking to excel in your life and your career? If so, we want to hear from you. We want to create a community with you. And so we throw it back to you, the viewer. Did you have a good week this week? How do you know? We want to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments, your questions, your concerns. We're here to support you. We'll be coming to you live every Friday at 4. Jim, how can they get in touch with us if they want to hear us before Friday at 4?
Well, what we'd love for you guys to do is visit the website, www.grtas.net, www.grtas.net. You will find information there. You'll be able to sign up for our newsletter. You'll also be able to reach out, make an appointment if you'd like to talk. But you can also do something that's really important, which is subscribe to this channel and make sure you hit the little bell, which will let you know when we post a new video every Friday at 4 o'clock. And you can also leave comments. We really do want to hear from you. We'd love to have comments to work on week after week where our viewers are driving the topics and we're kind of the facilitators and we're learning as well. So from both Amanda and myself, we want to thank you for tuning in and we look forward to spending Fridays at 4 with you every week. Goodbye.